The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble corridors of Kensington Palace as Captain James Whitmore adjusted his ceremonial sword for what felt like the 100th time. 27 years old and bearing the weight of a family tradition spanning 4 generations of royal service, James had earned his position as Princess Charlotte's personal guard through unwavering dedication and an impeccable service record. His father, grandfather, and great-grandfather had all served the crown with distinction, and James carried their legacy like a badge of honor pinned invisibly to his chest. The palace buzzed with its usual morning energy as staff members hurried through their daily routines. Housekeepers pushed carts laden with fresh linens, kitchen staff transported elaborate breakfast trays, and gardeners tended to the immaculate grounds visible through towering windows. James had grown accustomed to this rhythm over his 3 years of service, finding comfort in the predictable nature of royal protocol and the sense of purpose that came with protecting one of Britain's most beloved young royals. Princess Charlotte, now 15 and blossoming into a remarkable young woman, had captured the hearts of the British public from the moment of her birth. Her spirited personality, combined with her mother's grace and her father's warmth, made her a favorite among the royal watchers and common citizens alike. James had witnessed firsthand her transformation from a precocious 12-year-old into a thoughtful teenager who balanced her royal duties with the natural curiosity and energy of youth. The princess had a busy schedule ahead, with morning tutoring sessions, afternoon charity commitments, and evening preparations for an upcoming state dinner. James reviewed the security briefings one final time, noting the presence of additional personnel for the day's activities. Everything appeared routine, yet something in the air felt different. Perhaps it was the way the other staff members seemed more hurried than usual, or maybe it was the subtle tension he sensed in the conversations happening around him. As James took his position outside the princess's private quarters, he reflected on the unique challenges of his role. Protecting a teenager required a delicate balance between maintaining security and respecting the natural desire for independence that came with adolescence. Charlotte had always been cooperative, understanding the necessity of his presence while occasionally testing the boundaries of what was acceptable for a young royal. Their relationship had evolved from one of formal distance to mutual respect, built on countless hours of shared experiences and the unspoken understanding that they were both committed to fulfilling their respective duties. The sound of movement from within the princess's chambers drew James's attention back to the present. He could hear the familiar morning sounds of Charlotte beginning her day, the gentle rustle of curtains being drawn, and the soft footsteps of her lady-in-waiting moving about the room. These were the peaceful moments James treasured, when the weight of responsibility felt manageable and the world seemed safely contained within the palace walls. Charlotte's education had always been a priority for the royal family, with the finest tutors providing instruction in languages, history, mathematics, and the arts. James often marveled at her quick mind and genuine interest in learning, qualities that would serve her well in her future royal duties. Her tutors frequently commented on her insightful questions and her ability to grasp complex concepts with remarkable ease. This morning's lessons would focus on European history, a subject Charlotte particularly enjoyed, especially when it involved stories of strong female rulers who had shaped the continent's destiny. The princess's charitable work had become increasingly important to her as she matured, and James admired her genuine compassion for others. Unlike some members of the royal family who appeared to view charity events as mere obligations, Charlotte approached each opportunity with authentic enthusiasm and a desire to make a meaningful difference. Her recent involvement with children's hospitals had particularly moved her, and she often spoke of her plans to expand her charitable focus as she grew older. James's training had prepared him for virtually any threat that might emerge, from political extremists to overzealous royal watchers seeking inappropriate access. He had studied protection protocols, emergency procedures, and crisis management with the same dedication his ancestors had brought to their service. The Royal Protection Unit had provided him with extensive education in recognizing potential threats, managing crowd situations, and coordinating with local law enforcement when necessary. The political climate surrounding the royal family remained generally stable, though James stayed informed about various groups that expressed anti-monarchist sentiments or sought to disrupt royal activities. His briefings included regular updates on potential security concerns, from peaceful protesters exercising their democratic rights to more serious threats that required careful monitoring. The balance between maintaining public accessibility and Ensuring safety remained a constant challenge for the entire protection team. Charlotte's relationship with her parents reflected the modern royal family's attempt to balance tradition with contemporary parenting approaches. Her mother, the Princess of Wales, had worked diligently to provide her children with as normal a childhood as possible within the constraints of royal life. Her father, Prince William, brought his own experiences as a young royal to his parenting, understanding both the privileges and challenges that came with their unique circumstances. The media attention surrounding Charlotte had intensified as she entered her teenage years, with photographers and journalists eager to document every public appearance. James had witnessed the princess's growing sophistication in handling media attention, learning to project the right image while maintaining her authentic personality. The royal press office worked constantly to manage coverage, balancing the public's legitimate interest in the royal family with the need to protect Charlotte's privacy during these formative years. Technology presented both opportunities and challenges for royal security in the modern era. While communication systems and surveillance capabilities had improved dramatically, social media and instant information sharing created new vulnerabilities. James and his colleagues regularly updated their protocols to address emerging digital threats, from unauthorized photography to the spread of misinformation about royal activities. The international dimension of royal duties meant that Charlotte would eventually travel extensively, representing Britain's interests around the world. James looked forward to these future opportunities while recognizing the additional complexity they would bring to security arrangements. International protection required coordination with foreign governments, adaptation to different cultural contexts, and careful navigation of varying security standards and procedures. Educational trips had become an important part of Charlotte's development, providing opportunities to see historical sites and cultural landmarks firsthand. These excursions required extensive advance planning, with security teams conducting detailed reconnaissance and establishing comprehensive safety protocols. James had participated in several such trips and found them rewarding both professionally and personally, as they allowed him to witness Charlotte's genuine excitement about learning and discovery. The princess's friendships remained carefully managed, with the royal family working to ensure she could maintain connections with peers while navigating the unique challenges of her position. James respected the delicate balance required to protect these relationships while maintaining necessary security measures. He had observed Charlotte's natural ability to put others at ease, a quality that would serve her well throughout her life in the public eye. Ceremonial duties represented a significant aspect of Charlotte's royal education, as she gradually took on more public responsibilities. James had accompanied her to various state functions, watching her master the complex protocols and etiquette that defined royal behavior. Her poise during these events impressed even veteran royal watchers, who noted her natural grace and appropriate demeanor in formal settings. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky as James prepared for another day of service, unaware that the routine he had come to rely upon was about to be shattered by an event that would challenge everything he thought he understood about his role and responsibilities. The first indication that something was amiss came at approximately 9:30 in the morning, when James heard an unusual sound from within Princess Charlotte's chambers. It was not the typical morning routine of preparation and conversation, but rather a sharp intake of breath followed by what sounded like something falling to the floor. His training kicked in immediately, heightening his senses as he listened more carefully for any additional sounds that might indicate distress or danger. The silence that followed struck him as particularly concerning. In his 3 years of service, James had become intimately familiar with the normal patterns of the princess's morning routine. Charlotte was typically quite vocal, whether chatting with her lady-in-waiting, humming softly to herself, or occasionally calling out questions about her schedule for the day. This sudden quiet felt wrong in a way that made his hand instinctively move toward his radio. Lady Margaret Ashford, Charlotte's lady-in-waiting and longtime companion, had been with the royal household for nearly 2 decades. Her experience and discretion made her an invaluable member of the princess's personal staff, and James had developed a professional respect for her dedication and competence. When he heard Lady Margaret's voice through the door, there was a quality to it that immediately set off alarm bells in his mind. The conversation he could partially hear seemed fragmented and urgent. Lady Margaret's usual calm, measured tone had been replaced by something that sounded distinctly like concern, possibly even panic. James found himself straining to make out individual words while maintaining his professional position outside the door. Protocol dictated that he should not eavesdrop on private conversations, but his primary responsibility was the princess's safety, and something was clearly wrong. The sound of rapid footsteps moving back and forth within the chambers suggested unusual activity. James had memorized the layout of Charlotte's private quarters during his initial security briefing, and he could mentally track the movement patterns he was hearing. The footsteps seemed to be moving between the main sitting area and the private bathroom, a pattern that suggested someone searching for something or dealing with an unexpected situation. When he heard Lady Margaret's voice calling out with unmistakable urgency, James made the decision to break protocol and knock on the door. His training had taught him that security sometimes required making judgment calls that went beyond strict adherence to rules, and his instincts told him that this was one of those moments. The welfare of his charge took precedence over any concerns about propriety or privacy. The response to his knock came immediately, with Lady Margaret's voice clearly indicating that his presence was needed. The relief in her tone when she heard his voice suggested that she had been hoping for assistance, but was uncertain about how to request it appropriately. James waited for explicit permission before entering, understanding that crossing the threshold into the princess's private quarters was a significant step that should not be taken lightly. What he saw upon entering the room would remain etched in his memory forever. Princess Charlotte stood in the center of her sitting room, wearing a white nightgown that was stained with bright red blood. The staining was concentrated around her lower abdomen and legs, creating a stark and alarming contrast against the pristine white fabric. Her face was pale with shock and confusion, her eyes wide with fear and bewilderment. The princess's first words to him were a question that cut straight to his heart. "Why am I bleeding?" The innocence and terror in her voice revealed that she had no understanding of what was happening to her body. At 15, Charlotte had been sheltered from many aspects of adult life, and it was clear that no one had prepared her for the possibility of experiencing her first menstrual cycle. The realization hit James like a physical blow, as he understood that he was witnessing not a medical emergency or security threat, but a natural biological process that had caught everyone off guard. Lady Margaret's distress became immediately understandable. As an experienced member of the royal household, she was certainly familiar with the biological realities of young women, but the princess's obvious lack of preparation and understanding had created a delicate situation. The lady-in-waiting found herself in the position of needing to provide intimate education and comfort to a frightened teenager while maintaining the dignity and protocol expected in their formal relationship. James's military training had covered basic first aid and medical emergency response, but nothing had prepared him for this particular scenario. His first instinct was to assess whether medical attention was needed, but his growing understanding of the situation made him realize that this was likely a normal biological process rather than a medical crisis. However, the amount of blood visible on the princess's clothing and the obvious distress she was experiencing made him hesitant to dismiss the possibility that something more serious might be occurring. The protocol manuals that guided James's daily duties had never specifically addressed this type of situation. While they covered everything from terrorist threats to medical emergencies, the unique circumstances of a young royal experiencing monarchy in an unprepared state was not something that had been anticipated by the security planners. James found himself navigating uncharted territory, relying on his judgment and instincts rather than established procedures. Charlotte's emotional state was deteriorating rapidly as her initial shock gave way to genuine panic. She began asking repeated questions about what was happening to her, whether she was seriously ill, and if she might die from whatever was causing the bleeding. Her lack of knowledge about basic female biology was becoming increasingly apparent, and James realized that immediate reassurance was more important than strict adherence to the formal boundaries that typically governed their interactions. The decision to call for medical assistance was complicated by several factors. While James's first instinct was to summon the royal physician immediately, he was beginning to suspect that this might not actually constitute a medical emergency. However, the princess's obvious distress and the need for authoritative reassurance made professional medical evaluation seem advisable. Additionally, the delicate nature of the situation required careful consideration of who should be involved and how information should be managed. Lady Margaret was clearly struggling with the balance between providing necessary information and maintaining appropriate boundaries with her young charge. The formal nature of royal relationships meant that intimate conversations about bodily functions and sexuality were typically handled by family members rather than staff. However, with no immediate family present, and the princess in obvious need of explanation and comfort, the usual protocol seemed inadequate to address the situation. The princess's education had been comprehensive in many areas, covering history, languages, mathematics, and cultural studies with remarkable depth. However, it became apparent that certain aspects of health education had been overlooked or postponed, perhaps with the assumption that such conversations would happen naturally within the family context. The reality of adolescent development had arrived ahead of schedule, catching everyone unprepared. James found himself considering the broader implications of the situation beyond the immediate need to comfort and reassure the princess. The potential for media attention if word of this incident leaked was enormous, and the princess's dignity and privacy needed to be protected at all costs. The number of people who knew about the situation needed to be kept to an absolute minimum, and everyone involved would need to understand the importance of complete discretion. The physical reality of managing the situation also required immediate attention. Charlotte's clothing needed to be changed, her personal hygiene needed to be addressed, and appropriate supplies needed to be obtained quickly and discreetly. These practical concerns added another layer of complexity to an already delicate situation, as each action required careful consideration of protocol and propriety. Communication with the princess's parents became an immediate priority, but the timing and method of that communication required careful thought. The Prince and Princess of Wales were both engaged in official duties that morning, and interrupting their schedules for what might be a normal biological process could create unnecessary alarm. However, their daughter clearly needed parental support and guidance that staff members could not appropriately provide. The medical uncertainty continued to concern James, despite his growing conviction that they were dealing with monarchy rather than a medical emergency. The princess's age was within the normal range for this development, and the physical signs appeared consistent with menstruation. However, the apparent severity of the bleeding and Charlotte's obvious distress made professional medical evaluation seem prudent, both for the princess's well-being and for the peace of mind of everyone involved. As the minutes passed, James watched Charlotte's fear gradually give way to exhaustion and confusion. The initial panic was subsiding, but she remained deeply shaken by an experience she had no framework for understanding. Her questions became more specific and practical, focusing on immediate concerns about her comfort and the disruption to her daily schedule. This shift suggested that she was beginning to process the situation more rationally, though her need for explanation and reassurance remained acute. The princess's natural resilience and maturity began to emerge as she worked to regain her composure. Even in her confusion and distress, she showed concern for the impact her condition might have on other people's schedules and responsibilities. This consideration for others, even in her own moment of crisis, reminded James of why he felt such profound respect for the young woman he was charged with protecting. Dr. Elizabeth Harrison arrived at Kensington Palace within 30 minutes of James's carefully worded phone call. As the royal family's personal physician for the past 8 years, she had handled countless medical situations involving members of the household. But the delicate nature of this particular call had required careful consideration of both medical and protocol concerns. Her reputation for discretion and her extensive experience with adolescent health issues made her the ideal person to handle such a sensitive situation. The doctor's calm demeanor immediately had a soothing effect on everyone in the room. Her years of experience in dealing with young women facing their first menstrual cycle gave her the perfect combination of medical authority and maternal warmth that the situation required. She quickly assessed the physical evidence while simultaneously providing gentle reassurance to Charlotte, explaining that what she was experiencing was completely normal and healthy. Charlotte's relief was visible the moment Dr. Harrison began her explanation. The medical terminology that had seemed so frightening when she didn't understand it became manageable when presented in the context of normal female development. The doctor's patient answers to Charlotte's numerous questions helped transform what had been a terrifying medical mystery into an understandable biological process that millions of women around the world experienced regularly. The conversation that followed between Dr. Harrison and the princess covered topics that should ideally have been discussed months earlier in a planned, educational context. The doctor handled this delicate situation with remarkable skill, providing essential information about menstrual cycles, personal hygiene, and what to expect in the coming months. Her explanations were thorough yet age-appropriate, designed to educate without overwhelming a young woman who was already dealing with significant emotional stress. James found himself in the unique position of witnessing an intensely private educational moment while maintaining his professional responsibilities. The conversation between doctor and patient was clearly confidential, yet his duty to ensure the princess's safety required his continued presence. Dr. Harrison handled this unusual situation by occasionally directing practical questions to both James and Lady Margaret, involving them in the solution while respecting the intimate nature of the medical discussion. The practical arrangements that followed Dr. Harrison's consultation required careful coordination among all the adults present. Appropriate supplies needed to be obtained immediately, and someone needed to help Charlotte with the personal care aspects of managing her new situation. Lady Margaret's experience and maternal instincts made her the natural choice for this intimate assistance, though her formal relationship with the princess made the situation delicate for both of them. Charlotte's schedule for the remainder of the day became an immediate concern, as her tutoring sessions and afternoon commitments would clearly need to be modified or canceled. Dr. Harrison recommended a day of rest to allow the princess to adjust to her new physical reality and to process the emotional impact of this significant milestone. The challenge lay in making these schedule changes without drawing unwanted attention or speculation from other staff members. The conversation about informing Charlotte's parents required delicate handling. While Dr. Harrison assured everyone that this was a normal developmental milestone that posed no medical concerns, the emotional support that only parents could provide remained crucial. The princess herself expressed a strong desire to speak with her mother, recognizing that this was the type of experience that required maternal guidance and comfort. James coordinated the communication with the Prince and Princess of Wales through the private secretary's office, ensuring that the message was conveyed with appropriate sensitivity and urgency. The challenge was to communicate that their presence was needed for an important family matter without causing undue alarm about potential medical emergencies or security threats. The royal couple's immediate response demonstrated their understanding of the situation's significance and their commitment to being present for their daughter during important life moments. The Princess of Wales arrived at Kensington Palace within an hour, having discreetly adjusted her official schedule to be with her daughter. Her entrance into Charlotte's chambers brought a palpable sense of relief to everyone present, as the weight of responsibility for handling such an intimate family matter could finally be transferred to the appropriate person. The mother-daughter conversation that followed was both touching and necessary, providing Charlotte with the maternal support she needed during this confusing time. The discussion between the Princess of Wales and Dr. Harrison revealed that plans for Charlotte's education about female development had indeed been made, but the timeline had assumed this milestone would occur several months in the future. The early arrival of Charlotte's first menstrual cycle had caught everyone unprepared, highlighting the unpredictable nature of adolescent development. This realization led to immediate planning for more comprehensive health education for Charlotte in the coming weeks. James observed the transformation in Charlotte's demeanor once her mother arrived and the medical mystery had been resolved. The frightened, confused teenager gradually gave way to a young woman who was beginning to understand and accept this new aspect of her life. The presence of familiar, trusted adults who could provide both medical explanation and emotional support made all the difference in her ability to process this significant change. The security implications of the morning's events required careful consideration and planning. James needed to file appropriate reports about the incident while ensuring that sensitive details remained confidential and on a need-to-know basis. The potential for information leaks about such a private family matter was significant, and protecting the princess's dignity required meticulous attention to information security and personnel management. Lady Margaret's role in the ongoing situation evolved throughout the day as she worked to provide practical support while respecting the changing dynamics within the princess's personal household. Her experience and discretion proved invaluable in managing the immediate practical needs while maintaining appropriate boundaries. The incident had demonstrated the importance of having experienced, trusted staff members who could handle unexpected situations with grace and competence. The afternoon brought a series of quiet conversations as the various adults involved in the situation processed their own reactions and planned for future contingencies. Dr. Harrison provided additional educational materials and resources for Charlotte and her parents, ensuring that future questions could be answered comprehensively. The medical aspects of the situation were thoroughly documented, creating a baseline for monitoring Charlotte's ongoing health and development. Charlotte's resilience and maturity impressed everyone who witnessed her handling of the situation once she understood what was happening. Her initial panic gave way to thoughtful questions and practical concerns about managing her new reality within the context of her royal duties. She demonstrated remarkable composure in discussing how this development might affect her official schedule and public appearances in the future. The educational gap that had been revealed by the morning's events led to immediate planning for more comprehensive health education. The royal household's approach to such sensitive topics required careful balance between protecting Charlotte's privacy and ensuring she received appropriate preparation for the realities of adult life. Plans were made for ongoing conversations with both medical professionals and family members to provide comprehensive support. The discretion shown by all staff members involved in the situation demonstrated the high standards of professionalism that characterized the royal household. From housekeeping staff who helped with laundry to security personnel who managed access to the princess's quarters, everyone understood the importance of maintaining absolute confidentiality about personal family matters. This collective commitment to privacy protection was essential for maintaining the dignity and normal life that the royal family sought for their children. The impact on James's understanding of his role was profound, as the morning's events had demonstrated that protecting the princess involved far more than traditional security concerns. His responsibility extended to providing support and assistance during personal crises that had nothing to do with external threats. The experience taught him valuable lessons about the complexity of caring for a young woman navigating the challenges of growing up in the public eye. Communication protocols were reviewed and updated in light of the morning's experiences, ensuring that future situations requiring medical consultation or family notification could be handled more efficiently. The balance between protecting privacy and ensuring appropriate medical care required careful consideration of who should be contacted when and under what circumstances various levels of intervention might be necessary. The princess's academic schedule was quietly adjusted for the remainder of the week, allowing her time to process this significant life change while maintaining the appearance of normal routine. Her tutors were given minimal information about the scheduling changes, with explanations that focused on general health considerations rather than specific details about her personal development. As evening approached, Charlotte's confidence in managing her new situation grew significantly. The combination of medical explanation, parental support, and practical assistance had transformed a morning of terror and confusion into a manageable life transition. Her natural resilience and the strong support system surrounding her had enabled her to process this change with remarkable grace and maturity. The long-term implications of the experience extended beyond the immediate medical and practical concerns. Charlotte's first encounter with a significant life change had demonstrated both her vulnerability and her strength, providing valuable insights for everyone responsible for her care and support. The morning's events had created a stronger bond of trust and understanding between Charlotte and the adults who cared for her, establishing a foundation for handling future challenges that adolescence and royal life would inevitably bring. The following weeks brought significant changes to the daily routines and protocols surrounding Princess Charlotte's care. Dr. Harrison implemented a comprehensive health education program designed to ensure that Charlotte would be better prepared for future developmental milestones and health-related questions. These sessions, conducted in the privacy of the palace, covered not only reproductive health, but also broader topics of adolescent development, nutrition, and emotional well-being. James found his role evolving in subtle but important ways as he adapted to the reality of protecting a young woman who was transitioning from childhood into adolescence. The innocence that had characterized Charlotte's earlier years was gradually giving way to a more sophisticated understanding of the world around her, and his protective instincts needed to evolve accordingly. The intimate nature of the incident had created a bond of trust between them that transcended their formal professional relationship. Charlotte's mother, the Princess of Wales, became much more involved in the day-to-day aspects of her daughter's personal care and education. Regular mother-daughter conversations were scheduled to ensure that Charlotte would have ongoing opportunities to ask questions and receive guidance about the changes she was experiencing. These conversations covered not only the physical aspects of growing up, but also the emotional and social challenges that came with increased maturity. The princess's academic performance showed remarkable improvement in the weeks following her first menstrual cycle, as the resolution of her fears and confusion seemed to free her mind to focus more completely on her studies. Her tutors noted increased confidence and participation in discussions, particularly in subjects that involved human biology and social development. The experience had clearly matured her thinking and given her new perspectives on the adult world she would eventually inhabit. The relationship between Charlotte and Lady Margaret deepened significantly as the lady-in-waiting took on additional responsibilities for the princess's personal care and emotional support. The formal distance that had characterized their earlier interactions was replaced by a warmer, more maternal dynamic that served both their needs. Lady Margaret's experience and wisdom became invaluable resources for a young woman navigating the complexities of growing up in the royal household. Security protocols were quietly updated to reflect the changing needs of a maturing princess. James worked with the Royal Protection Unit to develop new procedures for handling personal emergencies and medical situations that might arise as Charlotte continued her adolescent development. These protocols balanced the need for immediate response with respect for privacy and dignity, ensuring that future crises could be handled more smoothly and efficiently. The incident had also prompted broader conversations within the royal household about health education and preparedness for all the younger royals. Plans were developed to ensure that Princess Charlotte's younger brother would receive more comprehensive preparation for his own developmental milestones, and protocols were established for handling similar situations should they arise with other members of the royal family. The experience had revealed gaps in preparation that needed to be addressed systematically. Charlotte's public appearances in the weeks following the incident showed increased poise and confidence, as if the experience of successfully navigating a personal crisis had strengthened her ability to handle the pressures of royal life. Royal watchers and photographers noted her improved composure during official events, though they remained unaware of the personal growth that had contributed to this positive change. Her natural charm and grace seemed enhanced by a new maturity that impressed both family members and staff. The princess's charitable work took on new dimensions as her increased understanding of health and development issues led to interest in organizations that supported young people facing various challenges. Dr. Harrison suggested several charities that focused on adolescent health education, and Charlotte began exploring ways to contribute to these causes through her royal platform. This connection between her personal experience and her public service exemplified the way members of the royal family often channeled their own experiences into meaningful charitable work. James's own education continued as he attended specialized training sessions designed to help security personnel better understand the unique challenges of protecting adolescent royals. These sessions covered topics ranging from adolescent psychology to crisis intervention, providing him with tools and knowledge that went far beyond traditional security training. His growing expertise in this specialized area made him increasingly valuable to the Royal Protection Unit. The media management aspects of the situation required ongoing attention, as the Royal Press Office worked to ensure that Charlotte's privacy remained protected during this sensitive period of her development. Careful attention was paid to photography and coverage of the princess's public appearances, with particular sensitivity to any images or stories that might inadvertently reveal personal information about her health or development. The press office's success in maintaining this privacy demonstrated their skill and dedication. Charlotte's relationship with her father, Prince William, also evolved during this period as she began to understand more about the differences between male and female development. Their conversations became more sophisticated and nuanced, covering topics that had previously been too complex or inappropriate for discussion. The prince's own experience growing up in the royal household provided valuable perspective for his daughter as she navigated similar challenges. The technological aspects of royal protection were enhanced to better address the changing needs of an adolescent princess. James worked with communications specialists to develop secure channels for handling health-related emergencies and sensitive personal information. These systems ensured that private medical information could be transmitted safely when necessary, while maintaining the highest levels of security and confidentiality. International protocol specialists were consulted to ensure that Charlotte's evolving needs would be properly addressed during future overseas visits and state occasions. Different cultures had varying attitudes toward discussing adolescent development and female health issues, and careful planning was needed to ensure that appropriate support would be available regardless of the location or cultural context of official duties. The princess's peer relationships required careful management as she began to relate differently to friends and classmates who might be experiencing similar developmental changes. Dr. Harrison provided guidance on how to maintain appropriate boundaries while still allowing Charlotte to form meaningful friendships with young people her own age. This balance was crucial for her emotional development and social well-being. Educational materials were carefully selected and reviewed to ensure that Charlotte would receive accurate, comprehensive information about health and development appropriate for her age and position. The royal household worked with medical experts and educational specialists to create a curriculum that addressed both universal aspects of adolescent development and the unique challenges faced by young women in the public eye. The staff training program was expanded to include all personnel who had regular contact with the younger royals, ensuring that everyone would be better prepared to handle personal emergencies and sensitive situations. This comprehensive approach protected both the royals and the staff members who served them, providing clear guidelines for appropriate responses to various scenarios that might arise. Charlotte's schedule was permanently modified to include regular health consultations and personal development sessions, ensuring that her ongoing physical and emotional needs would be met proactively rather than reactively. These sessions were integrated seamlessly into her daily routine, providing consistent support without drawing attention to their specialized nature. The incident had demonstrated the importance of having female staff members available to assist with intimate personal care situations. The royal household staffing was quietly adjusted to ensure appropriate gender representation among the personnel responsible for Charlotte's immediate needs, providing her with access to female mentors and caregivers who could offer guidance and support from their own experiences. The long-term impact of the experience on James's career was significant, as his handling of the delicate situation had demonstrated both his professional competence and his personal character. His ability to navigate the complex balance between security, privacy, and care had impressed his superiors and positioned him for increased responsibilities within the Royal Protection Unit. The trust he had earned from both Charlotte and her parents made him an invaluable member of their security team. The royal family's approach to privacy and media relations was strengthened by the successful handling of such a sensitive situation without any information leaks or inappropriate coverage. This success reinforced their confidence in their staff and security protocols while demonstrating their commitment to protecting their children's dignity and normal development despite the intense public interest in their lives. As the weeks passed, the crisis that had seemed so overwhelming on that spring morning transformed into a positive turning point in Charlotte's development and in the relationships surrounding her care. The experience had brought together a team of dedicated professionals and family members who had successfully supported a young woman through an important life transition, creating a foundation of trust and understanding that would serve her well in the years ahead. 6 months after the incident that had initially filled Princess Charlotte with terror and confusion, she had grown into a confident young woman who approached her royal duties with enhanced maturity and understanding. The experience of successfully navigating her first personal crisis had strengthened her resilience and given her valuable perspective on the challenges she would face throughout her life. Her transformation was evident to everyone who worked closely with her, from her tutors who noted her increased engagement with complex topics to the household staff who observed her greater consideration for others. James reflected on how profoundly the events of that spring morning had changed his understanding of his role and responsibilities. What had begun as a straightforward security assignment had evolved into something much more complex and meaningful. He had discovered that protecting a member of the royal family involved far more than safeguarding against external threats. It required a deep understanding of human development, family dynamics, and the unique pressures faced by young people growing up in the public eye. The comprehensive health education program that Dr. Harrison had implemented proved to be invaluable as Charlotte continued to mature physically and emotionally. Regular consultations ensured that she remained well-informed about the changes she was experiencing, while also providing a safe space for her to ask questions and express concerns. These sessions had become an integral part of her education, seamlessly integrated with her academic studies and royal training. Charlotte's relationship with her mother had deepened significantly during this period, as the shared experience of navigating adolescent challenges had created new opportunities for intimate conversation and mutual understanding. The Princess of Wales had drawn upon her own experiences as a young woman in the public eye to provide guidance that was both practical and emotionally supportive. Their regular discussions covered everything from personal health management to strategies for handling media attention and public scrutiny. The princess's charitable interests had expanded to include organizations focused on adolescent health education and support services for young women. Her involvement with these causes felt natural and authentic, growing directly from her personal experiences and newfound understanding of the challenges faced by teenagers navigating development and identity formation. Royal watchers noted her genuine enthusiasm for these charitable commitments, though they remained unaware of the personal journey that had inspired her advocacy. Lady Margaret's role had evolved from formal lady-in-waiting to trusted confidant and mentor, providing Charlotte with the kind of consistent, reliable support that was essential for healthy adolescent development. Her experience and wisdom had proven invaluable during moments of uncertainty or stress, and her presence provided continuity and stability within Charlotte's rapidly changing world. The relationship had demonstrated the importance of having experienced maternal figures available to support young royals during their formative years. The security protocols that had been developed in response to Charlotte's needs had become a model for protecting other adolescent members of the royal family. James worked with the Royal Protection Unit to refine these procedures and train other personnel in the specialized skills required for this unique form of protection. His expertise in balancing security with privacy and dignity had made him a sought-after instructor and consultant within the organization. Charlotte's academic performance had continued to excel as her increased maturity and life experience enhanced her ability to engage with complex subjects. Her tutors reported that she approached topics involving human development, social issues, and historical challenges with remarkable insight and thoughtfulness. The personal growth she had experienced had clearly enriched her intellectual development and broadened her perspective on the world around her. The media management strategies that had been developed to protect Charlotte's privacy during her transition to adolescence had proven highly effective. The Royal Press Office had successfully maintained appropriate boundaries while still allowing for the public interest in the young princess's development and activities. This careful balance had preserved her dignity while fulfilling the royal family's obligations to maintain public engagement and transparency. International recognition of Charlotte's growing maturity had led to invitations for her to take on more significant roles in state visits and diplomatic functions. The confidence and poise she had developed through successfully managing personal challenges had prepared her well for these increased responsibilities. Foreign dignitaries and officials consistently commented on her remarkable composure and thoughtful engagement during official interactions. The technological enhancements that had been implemented to support Charlotte's security and privacy needs had applications beyond the immediate situation. James worked with technical specialists to develop secure communication systems and emergency response protocols that could be adapted for use by other members of the royal family. These innovations represented significant advances in royal protection capabilities and demonstrated the organization's commitment to evolving with changing needs. Charlotte's peer relationships had stabilized as she learned to navigate the complexities of adolescent friendships while maintaining appropriate boundaries related to her royal position. Dr. Harrison's guidance had helped her develop healthy relationship patterns that would serve her well throughout her life. Her ability to form genuine connections with young people her own age remained one of her most valued personal achievements. The staff training programs that had been developed in response to the incident had become permanent features of royal household education. All personnel who worked with younger royals received comprehensive training in adolescent development, crisis intervention, and appropriate response protocols. This systematic approach ensured that future situations would be handled with the same level of professionalism and sensitivity that had characterized the response to Charlotte's needs. James's career had advanced significantly as a result of his demonstrated competence and dedication during the challenging situation. His promotion within the Royal Protection Unit reflected both his professional skills and the personal trust he had earned from the royal family. The experience had positioned him as a specialist in protecting adolescent royals, a role that was becoming increasingly important as the younger generation of the royal family matured. The broader implications of the incident had influenced royal household policies regarding health education and personal development support for all younger family members. Plans were developed to ensure that future milestones and challenges would be anticipated and addressed proactively rather than reactively. This systematic approach represented a significant evolution in how the royal household supported the personal development of its younger members. Charlotte's public speaking abilities had improved dramatically as her confidence and life experience had enhanced her ability to connect with audiences on meaningful topics. Her appearances at charitable events and official functions demonstrated remarkable poise and authenticity that impressed both royal watchers and the general public. The personal growth she had experienced had clearly translated into enhanced public presence and effectiveness. The medical protocols that had been established for Charlotte's care had become models for providing health care to other members of the royal family. Dr. Harrison's comprehensive approach to adolescent health and development had demonstrated the importance of proactive, holistic medical care that addressed both physical and emotional needs. These protocols ensured that future health-related situations would be handled with appropriate medical expertise and sensitivity. The discretion and professionalism shown by all staff members involved in the incident had reinforced the royal household's reputation for maintaining the highest standards of confidentiality and service. The successful protection of Charlotte's privacy during such a sensitive period had demonstrated the dedication and competence of everyone involved in her care. This collective commitment to excellence had strengthened the bonds of trust and respect that characterized the royal household's culture. As Charlotte approached her 16th birthday, the transformation from the frightened, confused girl of 6 months earlier to the confident, mature young woman she had become was remarkable to witness. The crisis that had initially seemed so overwhelming had become the foundation for tremendous personal growth and development. Her journey demonstrated the resilience and strength that would serve her well throughout her future life as a member of the royal family. James often reflected on how the events of that spring morning had changed not only his understanding of his professional responsibilities, but also his appreciation for the courage and grace that characterized the royal family he served. Witnessing Charlotte's growth and transformation had deepened his respect for her character and strengthened his commitment to providing the highest level of protection and support. The experience had reminded him that true security involved caring for the whole person, not just defending against external threats. The lasting impact of the incident extended far beyond its immediate resolution, influencing policies, procedures, and relationships throughout the royal household. The successful handling of such a sensitive situation had created a template for addressing future challenges with the same combination of professionalism, compassion, and discretion that had characterized everyone's response. Charlotte's journey from confusion to confidence had become a testament to the power of appropriate support, education, and understanding in helping young people navigate the challenges of growing up, even under the unique pressures of royal life.